Evening. This is Gloria Taylor Brown, and this is the 55th edition of A Gathering of Priestesses. I'm so delighted that you could join us this evening, whether you're joining us live or you're joining us later in the recorded version on YouTube. We have managed to get beyond the first year. We're now moving into our second year, and if we counted it as a weekly event. And we are almost at 500 members of A Gathering of Priestesses on the Facebook group, so I think that we're doing something right. I'm never too sure whether I'm doing anything right or wrong or whatever. I actually told someone that today. I just keep doing and hope that I put one foot in front of the other and hope that I don't trip over anything. And hope I don't put my both feet in my mouth at the same time, which I have done this week. I'll tell you all about that one later. Anyway, I want to welcome our guest for this evening, Miss Christina Castigliano. Have I got it right?
Pretty close. Castigliano.
Castigliano. So the G doesn't sound.
It's silent, like lasagna.
Mm-hmm. And so lasagna sounds good. And, of course, our co-host, Ms. Catherine Ravenwood, who is wearing her Little House on the Prairie's braids tonight.
Oh, it's hot.
It's hot.
It's driving me crazy, so this happened.
Make sure that making glass spotless and clear is good. But no.
Well, that's interesting. What was that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
In fact,
I don't know.
I don't know either.
There's not a sound here except for the birds
House
singing.
on the Prairie people.
we must have made them unhappy. So anyway, I want to thank you for all being here, and I want to thank you. And you know, I've been thinking about this because I've been having some guests in the house here for the last couple of weeks, and each time I have to explain, you know, why I've got lions sitting in my living room and what are those crazy-looking sticks over there. And, you know, being a priestess, being a shaman or a shamanic practitioner is one of those things that not everybody gets. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't like it. It doesn't mean that they aren't interested. It just means that it's never come across their way before. And so many people, it's like, I've never heard of that before. It was one of the things that was interesting as I was talking with this one young woman, and I was explaining to her that the sheaf of wheat that she had was in honor of the harvest goddess, and they had it out a little bit early. And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, normally you only bring that out in August." She says, "Oh, then you know a lot about agriculture?" I said, "I know nothing about agriculture. What I know about is goddesses." So, you know, it's interesting. And so whenever you get a chance to gently educate someone, I want to encourage you to let them look into your world as a priestess a little bit, to let them know that it's not all beige and bland out there, that there are those of us who have a more multicolored life, I guess is the best way to describe it. So, speaking of people with multicolored lives, Miss Christina, who is a Sparkologist, a singer, a sound maker, a performer, and if those of you who signed up saw the video on whenever you signed up, you'll know that she's quite remarkable. And I'm delighted that you're with us here tonight. And what I want to ask you is the question I ask all people. What drew you to the path of the priestess?
I love that question, because it's actually been fairly recent that I could step into that fully. I was raised Christian, And something really bothered me about the trilogy, not the trilogy, the divinity, the
Trinity.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Where are the women? I was not Catholic, so I didn't have access to Mary. And so I really discovered this on my own, not really through even a little bit of connection with other women. In the early 90s, this work began to come out, and I started a t-shirt company in 1992 called Goddess Wear. And it just gives you an indication of my journey that I would start that and get real excited about it, and I did all this artwork that I utterly loved. And I read all about the goddesses, and I was getting downloads of my own goddesses, nature goddesses mostly, and putting them on t-shirts, and Photoshop had just been invented. And then someone said to me, well, what are those? Is that for gay people? Something like this. And it was so hard to be not understood or not welcomed, because I was a little ahead of the curve. There were people very interested in this, but it was, that smaller segment, which I've learned over time that people like us, we're very often out there, right? Mm-hmm. We're a little out there in front. And so I started, after I gave up that t-shirt company, and mostly because I was writing this book, I couldn't really manage both. But then I started seeing goddess stuff everywhere. Like, I'm the goddess in the kitchen, or I'm the goddess of shopping. And then I realized that it had somehow reached a threshold, critical mass, where it was okay to talk about this stuff, and I was delighted by that, and yet also a little sad. Why did I give up on that? And it's only been within the last, I would say, 5 or 10 years, after around the time of turning 50, and really being called to lead a lot of ceremony, and finding that to be so natural and so rewarding and so deeply soul satisfying, that I said, okay, wait a minute, there is something really wonderful. Why haven't I known about this till now? But I've really embraced it, and now I'm super proud to be able to say, yes, I am a priestess, and this is what I stand for, and my life is oriented around what the divine is asking of me in any moment, and that is that's a completely ongoing process. It's not like, oh, I got it. No, it's a continuous walk of remembering. And one reason I have really liked doing ritual is because ritual is remembering, is memory, and remembering that which is most important. And but I'm kind of still that person that's a little bit outside of the realm. I've not gone through any. In fact, I've been fascinated watching your series, because I can learn about, oh, there's trainings out there for this, right? This was all, I mean, they call it mystery school for a reason. It's kind of a mystery, right? I mean, unless you ended up coming in contact with some of this realm. And I'm not sure that really would have been for me to follow in a divinity school of some kind. I met a really beautiful Mayan shaman who came through our area, which Gloria told me she used to live around the Seattle area here. We had a beautiful shaman and his wife, which was also astonishing. They were a husband and wife team of shamans. I'd never seen that before. But in meeting with them and getting my Mayan cosmology read, I was told, I went to them and I said, wow, I love your traditions. I love your long-standing time in this many, many thousands of years, following these ancient ways and these wisdom traditions that are held really well and sacred, even through all you've been through. And I said, I feel really sad, like I'm missing that somehow. And Shuni, the shaman Tato Pedro's wife, said to me, well, look at you. Your sign, my sign in Mayan, means path. So pathway.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is, she said, of course not. It's not your job to follow one pathway. It is your job to walk the many pathways and to find what is in common with all of them, and to help bridge understanding among the many pathways. So I cried. I literally cried because I felt I had finally I really understood why I've not been, you know, a lot of people would say with my voice and that I like to sing, well, don't you do kirtan or these certain chanting technologies and things? And I'm like, well, I'm really not drawn to a distinct way or path. And so it was beautiful to be told that's okay.
I was explaining this to someone, and I said, I'm basically an equal opportunity worshiper.
I love that. Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from. And by the way, Raven also lived in Seattle for quite some time. In fact, she lived out in Sequim as well and worked with...
You know right where I am then. Yeah. It's a beautiful corner of the world. And are you in California as well, Catherine?
No, I'm in Albuquerque.
Oh, Albuquerque. Okay. Yeah.
It's a long story which we will not make short.
Not till tonight.
Maybe not ever.
And yeah, maybe never. Anyway, but you know, that's the point of this show, is that it is a gathering of priestesses. I don't care who you worship. It is that you take the opportunity to allow divinity to work through you. And, you know, maybe you have followed a very structured path, like Ruth Barrett, who, you know, she was part of a training system, and she created her own training system, and, you know, she has her degree and basically, and now teaches and has her own organization. Or, you know, maybe you are just an eclectic, you know, I want to find everything there is to know about everything, which is sort of where I am. And, you know, Normandy Ellis is one of our priestesses, and she's one of my teachers, one of Raven's teachers, and she's you know, she's been involved in the Egyptian, and now she's been very much involved in the spiritual training. And so everybody who comes here has a different answer to that question. Yet at the same, and some people even say, I'm not a priestess. You know, that's not who I am. We had one who said, I am not a priestess. I am an observer of priestesses.
Oh.
And
we need observers, don't we?
We need observers. And she basically, you know, she's a poet and she's a writer, and what she likes to do is to write poetry about the goddess and about the priestesses. And, you know, I believe she's a priestess, but she doesn't think so. So...
Well, there's so many different ways that we can embody this role in the world, and that's what's been really juicy since discovering your show and watching so many, and really looking at, okay, this is a form of priestess. What I'm doing right now is focusing on a piece of performance art, which is really a cross between theater, storytelling, and a sermon. It truly is. It's all of those things, and which makes it a little uncomfortable, because people will say, well, what is it? And people who are expecting theater might be a little turned off by the things that are maybe a little bit more priestessy, in terms of, I don't want to be preachy in any way. I would say that's my biggest challenge as a priestess, is my father is a minister, retired now, but I really... Maybe you guys can speak about that. That would be interesting to me, because I have this little preachy that comes up, and it's like, she's one of my least favorite inner characters, even though I love what she has to offer. It's something about her tone. Is that ringing any bells with you guys?
Well, I think...
Yeah, so you're talking about just when you're doing your performance pieces, or in general when you're talking to, you know, somebody at the grocery store? When does this inner evangelist come out?
I was going to call myself Evangelista for a while.
Evangelista.
She will come out in all of those moments, and so it's wanting to first of all accept her,
Yes.
love her, right? Love her and accept her, and then understanding her dark side. Here's what it is. In stepping out more as a priestess, I'm feeling like then I have to be willing to let her shadowy, I know better than you, or whatever the tone it takes. It's going to be there, and what can
You'll have to find out what it is she's trying to tell you.
There you go. Yes.
Just go for a nice long walk with her and let her talk.
That is what we do. I'm so lucky I have a beautiful hill here that I can walk up, and I missed it today, though. So, yes, and it's a new moon also, and so it's a day for those of us that pay attention to some of these divine forces, and it's new moon in Gemini and my birthday. So,
Birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
Good time to start something.
That's
preferably around communications.
Oh, are you showing us roses?
These are for you guys to have a smell.
Are they from your yard?
Yes.
They're beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, my husband picked those. So, yeah, so that is the form that priestess takes in my life. As a double Gemini priestess, as a walker of many paths, is communication and is story, and I'm in love with that stuff.
Well, one of the things that I have a lot of evangelist in me. I came out of the Baptist community, and whenever I was about 7 years old, only thing I wanted to be was an evangelist. I wanted to be on that stage, and I wanted to be giving those sermons.
Wow.
You do, Gloria, and you do it so well. Not in the Baptist church, that's all.
What I decided, when I confided that, I was informed that women were not evangelists.
Oh, really?
And I was like, what do you mean? Well, then I can't be in this religion. And
good for you.
And but what I wanted was to be up there on that stage because I could see the power in it.
There is power in it.
There's tremendous power in it. And what I realized over the years, and it's taken me a lot of years to realize this, so this was something that I had to learn, was to take that energy and instead of making it a you should or a lecture,
yes,
to turn it into questions.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What would you do if you could do anything? Mm-hmm. Where would you go? And then to listen to their answers and to support them in their answers, whatever their answers were. As I said, I don't care how you answer the question. All I'd like you to do is answer the question. Mm-hmm. Because it's going to make you think when you answer the question.
And then it's their own. It's their own as well. It's their own process, their own quest.
Right.
Coming up with the answer to your question. And so it's going to be much more authentic for them, as well as that's the only way I've ever learned anything. Mm-hmm. Mostly, right? Is from my own experience. So that's beautiful. Thank you. I would call you a Sparkologist then. Because
yeah, I'm totally willing to collect names and titles.
Because those are my favorite questions when I meet people in a party. Those are always my very first questions. So if you could do or be anything at all, what would it be? Or what are you drawn to?
Yeah, and in my case, the answer changes radically one day to the next. So, there's my husband says that all he's ever wanted to be was happy. And that's since he was a little boy. That was it. That was his goal. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'd like to be happy, but there's a whole lot of other things I want to experience. And being happy doesn't necessarily convey what it is I want to do. So whether I'm a sparkologist or a shaman or a practitioner or an alchemical teacher or whatever, I don't care. Call me what you will. I've been called, I've been called worse than that. I've been called worse fires than this one. But
Yeah.
I do believe that, when we look at ourselves, and you were commenting earlier about having this little evangelist who wants to come out and probably truly needs to come out in order for you to hear what she has to say.
Yeah.
That that part of us is the part that we suppress the most sometimes, and so therefore, see what it is she has to say. And as far as one of the things, I'm surprised. I haven't met you before because I'm surprised you weren't involved with Women of Wisdom.
Well, I have been for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I heard about it when it first started. That's when I was doing my T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had one of those life throws you, completely almost like a boomerang where I really went back in time and lost some of what I had learned and I went back to a very corporate life. I had children, that was part of it. But I really separated myself from what I had grown into. And then the rediscovery was bittersweet in that I was upset for all those years I had missed out. And then also, but hallelujah, hallelujah, I have found you again. Like, woo, there you are. Oh, I've been missing you so much.
One of the things that Raven and I miss is the fact we don't have Women of Wisdom down here. And it's, it's a long way up there, and it's in February, and we're not going to get that cold. So,
true enough.
Or at least that's my issue. Raven's over there in Albuquerque. She's cold.
But there's nothing like that in your area.
I like the weather in Seattle.
Huh?
I like Seattle weather.
Okay.
Well, come back sometime, or we have started. Actually, I helped to form a branch of Women of Wisdom on our side of the Puget Sound. A woman that had been their primary coordinator for the last few years is my neighbor, and so we started what we called West Sound WOW. And now there is an East Side WOW, so it's starting to replicate. We have monthly meetings, and whoever wants to lead us in some kind of an experience of some sacred, or we might do drumming or work with plants, herbology, whatever it might be, it's open to whoever wants to co-create. And I'm loving that. I'm not always able to go, even though I helped co-found it. It's nice. So there would be an opportunity for, I'm sure you have community around you, but maybe it's not the same scale.
It's not the same scale, and we don't get to wear the same pretty dresses on a regular basis. And whenever I was up there doing Women of Wisdom, we were an 8-day long event. So,
oh, that's right. It was bigger.
Yeah. So I was
5 days.
Actually on the board of directors, the president of the board of directors, whenever I finally stepped down.
Oh, yeah. Great. Well, I will have to thank Chris again. I'm always very grateful because I volunteered 3 years ago, and then 2 years ago I was asked to lead the opening ceremonies and closing ceremonies. So it was co-created, but to put that together. And then this year I offered a workshop. I did 2 workshops. So I just feel so blessed by that community and by the opportunity to come together with like-minded women. It's been so beautiful.
The first year I went to Women of Wisdom, I had no idea of what was going on. The next year I was on stage performing. I was teaching.
Yes. Isn't that great?
That's what that kind of a supportive community does. Yeah.
It is.
I just wanted to say about your little inner evangelist.
Yes.
Because for those of us who were raised in a strict religious type of dogmatic presentation,
yes,
that voice is recognized only really in one way, and that is, in most cases, I mean there are exceptions, but that voice is used for power and for manipulation. And you're keeping your dogma going. you know?
Yeah.
The person up there, they may have good things to say, but they're perpetuating the dogma.
Yes.
So to be able to let that voice come out, even though it's been trained and brought up that way, so that you can step out of using your voice for power and just to use your voice to express that truth that comes through and then be the witness for somebody. I think that's a really powerful transition, and it's a powerful thing. And so many people in priestess, in practitioner, and whatever you want to call it, are still stuck in that control place.
Mm.
And they just put another label on it. You know, the born-again New Agers.
It's exactly the same energy in a lot of cases.
Exactly the same. It's just different rhetoric.
Yeah.
And so I think that for those of us, and I definitely have one of those voices, and so I don't know how good I am at this, but I think it's really important to learn how to be able to say what that is in us that's coming through in a way that is not perpetuating any dogma.
Well, in my case, the performance piece that I'm working on really is what I want to say most of my life, and that's why I have this urgency that I'm going to do this. You know, I wrote it 3 years ago, shortly after going to WOW, and then I let it. This seems to be a pattern I hear myself telling you guys. I let it. It went back into the shadows a bit, and then I had to become stronger, to be willing to stand in that voice and to really let it speak the story exactly the way that I see it. And but it's done through an entertaining story. It's done through a story, but that's how the Bible certainly is, right? And all of the wisdom traditions, if they're worth their salt, they've got good stories.
Right.
So
I love a good story.
Yeah. So it's about a story of how the divine spark in us, and this has also been inspired by brain research, positive psychology, about the amygdala and our limbic system, which is the voice and the behavior of fear, and that we also have this divine spark. So it's the tension between those, and how as we're growing up, we get these layers of protection that we basically put on ourselves. You know, like, wait, I don't want you to see that evangelist, right? No, I'm not here. No, I'm not really here, right? And so what I'm loving about it is that it does use cloth as the metaphor, because I think a lot of people relate to that idea of layers, and that we do cloak our light because we need to survive in this world. We need to figure out how to get along, and particularly in a patriarchy, just saying, we couldn't always go around with our light shining on. We couldn't. It was really dangerous.
All of us, probably all of us on or watching the show, have been severely punished for that.
Absolutely.
I'm not talking about past memories. I'm talking about this
right now. Well, that's what my story is all of that, but recognizing that at some point the punishment is not external. It's right here, and I've taken that in, and I'm living from that fear. And it's only now, it feels like now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're evolutionarily, and in America where we women have the socioeconomic status and the freedom, Dalai Lama has said that we're the ones, right, that we've got the right stuff to be able to help us make an evolutionary shift. And that I believe that that's why the story of hey, what is your light, and what would it take for you to be able to step into that, because we're really needed right now. I mean, all of us. I'm wanting to recraft the ending a little bit. This weekend I participated a lot in the activist movement activism that was happening here this weekend. I don't know if you guys heard, but Shell Oil has a massive drilling machine that's 400 feet tall called the Polar Pioneer, and Obama has approved drilling in the Arctic, exploratory drilling, recently.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In March, yeah. So this massive beast was housed here in Seattle, and a very dear young woman friend of mine, she's also a client, she studies voice with me, her name's Kiara Rose, She climbed on, not on that boat, but on a support vessel. She climbed on an anchor and hung there for 3 days and 3 nights out in the middle of Bellingham Bay to protest this. And she is so in tune with what's going on that she's doing it because she's feeling called from the Chicxulub Sea where this thing is headed. And so there's been a lot of activism. There's been what's called kayaktivism, where people are getting in kayaks and paddling out to block this thing. Well, yesterday it left Seattle, and we did an all-day ceremony with Idle No More, which is Native American women elders, priestesses, spiritual leaders, who had called an event together in Seattle, and I spent the whole day there, and it was so beautiful. Oh my God. Goddess, I gotta say, to hear young men speaking in public about the divine feminine and honoring all of us women that were there, non-natives included, and have that said so many times, saying, you are life. You are life, women. I mean, yeah, it wasn't at the stadium, right? But it was a relatively small crowd, maybe 100 people. But still, that these things are being spoken out loud. And I was so honored by, so honored by that. And so for me, this little bit of activism is starting to emerge with the priestess role of knowing that as the Iroquois women who, with their system of government, was matriarchal, and they had the final say. The elder women, us, right? Us three here, we had the final say traditionally in that culture, and that our opinions really do matter. We have created life. We have raised children, even if not real children. We've created many things, and we have been around the block. We've been to the rodeo more than once, right, Gloria?
Yep.
And so our opinion, and so to have these young men actually really inviting our opinions and really listening, I just wanted to share that with you because I really thought you might really appreciate what that felt like.
Yeah, well, you know, it is interesting. And one of the things that has been happening lately is we have men who are listening to the show. And we have...
we love you!
Yeah. And when I first started announcing the show, I had a number of men say, I'm obviously not a priestess. Why are you sending me this invitation? And we've had a number of men who are now, I'm still keeping a gathering of priestesses as only feminine. But I'm totally willing for them to listen to us. And I do want to do something starting in the fall, which is more inclusive, where men and women can be part of it. I did this starting with Stepping Out into Ourselves, a book of anthology of writing on priestesses by Goddess Inc. Mm-hmm. And so growing out of that, I felt that staying with that, honoring the women, and giving the women a platform. Because one of the things I've been very clear about is I don't want just the big names. I know enough of them. I've been in Women of Wisdom. I worked with the Prophets Conference. I worked with several other conferences. I know them. I can call them up. I can send them an email. I can get them on here. But they already have a platform. They already have their voice out there. It's women like, somewhat like yourself, like Raven, like myself, like, other women who maybe don't have such a big platform. That we don't have 10 books. We don't have a lot of people who are following us on Facebook or Twitter or wherever the hell it is. But to give us an opportunity to hear those voices. Because I believe that those are the people that will make a difference for the young women, for the women who are just starting out, who are going, oh, I could never be Jean Houston. No, you could never be Jean Houston. Neither could I. Neither could anybody else I know. Mm-hmm. Heaven help us. That woman is a powerhouse. But you can be you.
Yeah.
And who are you?
Yes. And I love that mentoring role. That is my very, very favorite, I think, of all the different expressions of the divine through me, is that I'm so drawn to work with young women. I have facilitated teen talking circles for many years, and I've loved that. And now working with women and young women and their voices is what's really landing in me as being just a true passion. Because, well, this young woman, Kiara, she's now been interviewed by all the major media. She's ended up, really having that spotlight shine on her. And the fact that she can stand there and say, this is about love. This is about how we feel about this planet. This is about the waters that we love so much. This is about that we need to survive. And so it's been beautiful. I mean, for me, with the next generation, it's kind of like watch them go and reflect their beauty back to them. Just say yes, yes, yes. You've got this, And then little tricks, and I'd like to start a training this fall. Also, I have some really wonderful co-conspirators that's around this idea of a female Jedi. That is, what are these intuitive skills, and how do you really draw on how you can work with those inner voices that may try to stop you, but to stand in this one, to stand in the one that is your essence. And so it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting to have landed on something that really feels right and really juicy.
Well, I want to applaud you in that, and I also want to applaud anybody who's listening who's speaking up for the first time. Because you know what? After you've been out there for a few years, I mean, I've been broadcasting who I am for a long time. And it doesn't bother me when anybody calls me, because they want to call me a witch, they can call me a witch. They want to call me a priestess, they can call me that. It doesn't matter to me, because I've been out there and I know who I am. But there are a lot of younger women who it still matters to.
Oh, yes.
Because they don't really know who they are. And whatever you call them can have a positive or a negative valence. And it's so very difficult for them to say, no, that's not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You are projecting your own.
Projecting, yes. And to recognize that that's you coming at me. That's been really, really challenging for Kiara. She's gotten the most hateful things said about her for standing up as an environmentalist and an activist. And the other thing I love about her is that she's a singer, so she's improvisational as I am. So I find her ways of communicating and what she's speaking about to be utterly vital. And so it's hard then to have people come at her, and by extension me, I guess, not really, but to have it be so aggressively hateful.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be that ancient stuff we were talking about.
Well, I don't think it's that ancient, and I think that's the other thing to realize. You say, well, we women here in America can speak up and do these things. There's a lot of women here who can't, who are still kept down, who are still suppressed, who are still abused, who are still kept in that place of being subservient and the lesser one.
Yeah.
And have no way of getting out of that place. Raven comes from a Mormon tradition, and they are that way, but there are a lot of Mormon women that, it's very much, they take the subservient role to their husband, and they place themselves in space where they have so many children they don't know what to do. And then there's other traditional, non-traditional religions, belief systems. I mean, there's even New Age systems where basically the women are suppressed. You know, and this goes way back to the Transcendental movement, where, you know, Whitman and not Whitman, but Emerson and Alcott and the rest of them sat around and had these wonderful, great thoughts.
Yeah.
And their wives were out there cleaning and cooking and taking care of and chopping logs.
Yes. Supporting the men to do that brilliant thinking, where all of us, we've all been looking for a wife the last few years, right?
Damn straight. Anybody want to volunteer? I'm looking for one.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's
no sex involved, so, you know, I just want a wife.
Yeah.
Now, when speaking of my Mormon tradition, of course, in the Mormon tradition, they don't allow women to hold the priesthood.
Right.
And it's only men. And every Sunday they do a version of a Catholic Eucharist. They do the sacrament with bread and water and the prayers. And I mean, most Christian churches are going to celebrate some form of that, Last Supper recreation. And I remember I was 15 years old, and it was the first time I ever had any kind of sense of power. I had a very, very, very lucid dream. And I was inside our church, and they would have people out in the hallway, you know, with a fussy child or something, and one of the priesthood people would come out and give them the sacrament, because, you know, they didn't want to miss it. Well, yeah. I dreamed that I walked out of the main church with my little tray with my bread and my water on it, and I was giving the sacrament to everybody out there in the fringy area. And I woke up, 15 years old, with this amazing sense of power. And like I just did something really naughty. You know? But
I love it.
Because I was out there with the fringe people, you know?
Yeah.
It was my first really, when I look back, that's the first time I really had that sense of, you know, no, I can do this too.
Beautiful. And how, I would say, because the grass is greener on the other side, I'm like, oh, you got to know that so early. Yay!
But I didn't get to do anything with it for a long time. But I had it. You know what? Like you, these things come in and then life happens. Yeah. And you're dealing with, you know, everything from children to a nervous breakdown to whatever it is. Corporate, making money, whatever it is.
Yes.
We're all surviving, and we're experiencing life. And it's not till, you know, sometimes later you kind of filter it out and go, what did all that mean?
Yes.
And that just takes a while sometimes. I mean, shit happens.
It happens.
Yeah, and you don't always have the luxury of pondering what you're thinking as a spiritual path. It takes a while to figure it out. Oh, that dream I had. Oh my God, now I understand that really. Back then I just thought I was a rebel and a bad girl, you know. Now I understand it fully.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. So, you know, as I always say, hindsight's a bitch. You know, it takes you sometimes so long. And then you go, wow, I wasted all that time. But did we? So young people, no, you're not wasting your time. You have to experience what's coming. And it doesn't matter if you put it all together or if you put it on the shelf for a while. Just be aware and do the best you can and be true to yourself.
And recognize that your awareness, even as you expand it and develop it, it's not, there's still the mystery.
That's right, and it's going to keep changing.
Yes, and it's kind of beautiful, like a flower. It's going to, you know, open and reveal itself to you over time.
Fall off, and then there's a little rose hips in there that turns into vitamin C and gives you something, that last boost.
Yes, yummy, something, yes.
And you make tea out of it all.
There you go. And then you compost.
Yes, that's right.
Then you
I think it's also important to remember, you know, you've used the term power several times, and I've been very clear on this for a long time, that power is neither negative nor positive. Power just is.
Yes.
The question is what you do with it. What's your intention? What is it that you actually create with it? There's a saying, I can't remember who wrote it, that says that the electricity is an interesting thing. It is the same thing that can cook a man's dinner can cook a man.
Whoa.
So power's like that.
Mm-hmm.
It can be positive or it can be negative, and it depends on what your valence is, what your intention is, what you're wanting it to be. And it also depends on the end effect that you create out in the world. So to have power, without power we can do nothing. So I believe that we embrace power, and then we go forth from there and make a difference. Create that world we want to create, make those changes we want to make. Because without the power, all we're going to do is sit in the corner and suck on our thumb.
But for many of us, for our experience of power was through some behaviors and some of the shadow side of the masculine, of the patriarchy that we grew up under, and so we might have thought, well, I don't want that. I don't want to be that. And then maybe you discover, well, then it's inside you, but it's a different kind of power. It's a slipperier, not so overt, not willing to know itself almost. So I guess that would be my theory for why maybe I feel like a bit of a late bloomer here, to be really willing to stand in this powerful voice that I have, and to really allow it to come forth, and to be of service for that which I've been given through the divine. So it's been a dance with power, and I really appreciate what you've just said, that it's really, really okay, and that it's really what our intention is and how we manifest that.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of people that have abused power, and there's a lot of people who have collected it for power's own sake. Even in the shamanic community, there is, shamanic wars that go on. My shaman's better than your shaman. My God's better than your God. And the funny thing is, you can't store power. You can store electricity, but you can't store power.
Mm-hmm.
You can
flow through you.
You got to flow.
Yeah, let it flow right through. Yeah.
And that's so true in our bodies. Our power, our energy is flowing through us constantly, and if it gets stuck in any one area, we get sick.
Exactly.
And so if you don't have even flow, you're going to have a headache, you're going to have a stiff shoulder, your hips don't want to work, you get brain fog. It's just got to keep it moving.
Keep it flowing, yeah.
If you get stuck, you get sick.
Yes, and that's beautiful, beautifully said. And I'm so grateful to my teacher, Vickie Dodd. Now, do you guys know Vickie at all? She's a sound healing person from way, way back. Been doing it about 50 years now, and so the ability for sound and vibration, it's a form of energy medicine, but where sound and vibration can really help break up those areas that are stuck in us physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. So I just want to say thank you, Vickie, because I've been learning so much, and we're working on a book together. Called Our Voice is Our Medicine.
So that is a wonderful segue to what I want to do next.
Good.
Because I was listening to you and Raven earlier as you were doing some sound healing. And what I would ask you to do is to spend the next 5 minutes or so doing some sound healing on us and your audience.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. And Catherine, are you going to join in with me?
If you would like me to.
I would.
Yay.
I would.
Okay.
Get more resonance that way.
Right.
All right, then. So, in particular, I have in my mind, Gloria, all those women that you spoke of that are in America. They may have their physical needs taken care of. They may not. But those who, for whatever reason, are still feeling that and I don't mean to say still even, that's a judgmental word. I mean one that they are experiencing shut down or less than. So oh, shalaliano nai nai o alayana yato oh, shalanayatoya hey oh,
Thank you. Thank you, both of you. That was lovely. Thank you. That was quite wonderful. And I hope everyone enjoyed. It was quite interesting how the microphones were managing to handle it, too.
I have no idea. I couldn't hear that.
No, you'll have to. So, yeah, so it's very beautiful. And so you have a performance that's coming up when?
Well, it will be in the week of July 20 to 24th. I don't have the exact date yet, but there will be one show in Seattle and then one on Bainbridge Island at a yoga center. So I don't have my date absolutely finalized, but I will share that with our audience through the through Facebook.
All right, great.
It's called Spark Story, and totally thrilled to be finally.
And you also have a book?
Yeah, so I wrote this back in 2009, and so it's a fantasy novel, and it's a spiritual adventure. Is what it is, and there will be 4 books when I'm done with the whole series, but it's about a 13-year-old girl who is called to another world by her twin. I don't know if you can see him there, but he shows up in her mirror and in the water and in everything that reflects, even the toaster. And she ends up following him into another realm, which is this book is about Eastern, particularly Chinese. It's a Chinese spiritual realm based on Taoism. So that's not stated because it's an adventure, but you're taking an adventure through Taoism in this book.
And isn't that interesting? Because I met you through your mirror tonight.
That's right, you did.
I came on and Gloria wasn't on yet, and Christina was outside, and I was looking at her pictures, and then up in this mirror on the wall, I started seeing movement, and I saw her walking across her yard through the mirror, and then she popped in. I'm like, wow, well, just walked in through the mirror.
Another dimension. That's really wild.
That's what your book did.
Yes, it's a.
Put it out, girl. Live the book.
Yes.
Awesome.
And I have another project I'm hoping to finish this year, so I'm putting it out there in public so that I will.
Okay, give us a date.
I have a deck of cards.
Oh.
Yeah, these are tools. I call them everyday tools for transformation. This is the spatula. With the spatula, it's about flipping your attitude.
Nice.
Now, when you notice that something's burning, it's time to flip it over, see if you can see things in another way. So it's the spatula. And so I've got most of the cards written, but I need to take a little break. I got a message that something else was needing to come, so I'm hoping to return to this because I know that many of your priestesses have created projects like that, so it strengthens me. So thank you.
Yeah, we're all tarot addicts, and Lenormand and card and what have you. The question is, how many decks can I have?
I'm hoping that this would be for my young women. It's like it's everyday tool, like a spatula. Hopefully they can, but they like the tarot too.
Yeah. Well, I think for them the tarot is actually more available because they didn't have the rules against it early on.
Mm-hmm. And it opens that whole archetypal world, which is so juicy.
Mm-hmm.
So juicy.
So thank you so much for being here, and we look forward now. Your website, tell us your website again.
TheJoyfinder.com.
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 We'll make sure that's on the YouTube listing.
Thanks.
And Miss Catherine Ravenwood, star of stage and screen, or at least of stage.
Yeah.
Raven was on stage this last Saturday night doing a performance with a belly dance troupe. No, she wasn't a belly dancer. And so I want to applaud her for stepping out and doing something really unique. You want to tell us a little bit about
I would like to hear more about that.
Well, my friend Maria Chavez was directing a belly dance production of Belly Dance Through the Ages, and it was different styles. And at the end, she was dancing to some music that was written for water. And I'm a water priestess. I wrote a book on water. And so she said, I'm wanting to kind of bring it all together because we have all these different styles, and I'm kind of hoping that I can connect it all. And she said, would you like come on stage and like do something? I said, like invoke you? And she said, yes, yes.
Yes.
So I took my big crystal singing bowl and I spoke some words. I said this very brief passage, and then I invoked her as water. And then she came out and danced the last dance. It was great.
It had never been so fluid.
And it was a beautiful dance. It was beautiful music, and I was very honored that she asked. And it was great.
That's
so,
lovely.
Of course, I adore being on stage. I'm a big old ham. So, whatever. But it really was an honor, and these women were such beautiful dancers. And two men. And just beautiful, no, 3 different men. There were 3 men. And they're just all such beautiful dancers. Really beautiful control of their bodies and costumes, and they were round and skinny and tall and short and wide, and they were beautiful. It was a gorgeous experience. So I was very honored.
Lovely. Thank you.
You also have part 2 of your...
Part 2 of my class has been put up on Mother House of the Goddess. So my class is called Spiritual Directions, a Path of Initiation. And level 1 was introducing the student to the 4 directions and the guides of the 4 directions. And it's a shamanic class in that all their work is given to them through shamanic journeys that were given to me. And the second level of the class is all the elementals and the aspects of it. And that just got posted today. Did you put that on the Priestess, Gathering a Priestess? Because I couldn't post on yours. I tried to find it and post to it, and I couldn't do it. So I didn't know if you shared.
Everybody else seems to be able to post there.
I just didn't do it right then.
I actually had to kick somebody off this week.
Oh, well, it's on my Facebook page, Catherine Ravenwood, or it's on my Facebook page, How to Create Sacred Water. It's even on the Goddess Ranch page, I think. Anyway, it's up, and it's on Mother House of the Goddess, so it's level 1 and 2 are now available, and level 3 and 4 are quickly coming.
I love that.
By level 4, you go through the whole initiation of the 7 directions, and it's done with Grandmother Spider.
Oh, beautiful.
It's a very beautiful class. I'm very happy to get it out there and there are people taking it, and their feedback is it's amazing to me.
Mm.
They write me their comments and tell me about their journeys, and it's just like, yep, this is what happens when you're in the West. This is what happens when you're in the South.
Mm.
Beautiful. So I'm really honored that after all my years of all of this work that it's getting out to other people. It's been very challenging for me to adapt myself to the internet.
Online learning.
Yeah, it's been very difficult for me, kicking and screaming the whole way.
Well,
But,
when I took my 15-year hiatus from the spiritual path, I was an online learning. I taught in college, and I taught people how to set up online learning. I was an online learning art director and producer. So that's been my world, and then strangely, I have not been able to come up with my own online training.
well, I'm very grateful because Ann Key's been helping me chop it up into bites.
Yeah.
Kimberly Moore, it's her platform in Mother House of the Goddess. So
Oh, wonderful.
Goddess Inc. and Mother House of the Goddess, this goddess is getting her work out to you, goddess.
Oh, good. So on a different platform then. See,
On
this
a
is new
different
to me. I love hearing about this. And
Yeah.
would your class be appropriate then for 18-year-olds?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because it's stepped down, and the way it starts off is they're shamanically taken out to create their own sacred circle, etheric circle, or altar, and that's where all their work is done.
Everything's done.
Every time they do their work, they go back out to that circle, and it layers and layers and layers.
Oh, I love that.
The gateways open as the portals open, and their teachers come in. It all anchors in their etheric circle.
I am loving this so much because actually what did bring me into doing ceremony and ritual was rites of passage initiatory work.
Yes, it's very good for younger women who have not,
Wonderful.
who maybe haven't really understood what we're talking about when we talk about the directions. And I've been a pipe carrier for almost 20 years, and so I pray to the directions. That's
me too. Yeah.
And so to be able to share that in a way that's a little more accessible it's taught me a lot more too. It's good.
Well, yay, wonderful. That sounds like
So go to Mother House of the Goddess and check it out.
I will totally check that out. That sounds great.
Thank you.
Yeah, love it.
I want to thank you both for being with us this evening, and it would have helped if I'd checked this before, but Raven, are you on next week?
That's what you told me.
Well, then, next week, Raven is not a co-host, she is our guest priestess.
Yes.
And so you'll get to hear more about the spiritual directions as well as some of the other work that she's done. Raven's really a remarkable being. She kind of hides her light under a candle. In fact, she hides it under several bushel baskets. So I am determined to get her out in the so that she can be the lighthouse that she truly is.
That's right. Being a sparkologist again.
Yes, I'm inside my shell.
Yeah, well, that's all over. As of next week, no more shows.
Kiss it goodbye.
Kiss it goodbye.
So I want to thank you all for being present and let you know, some of you are seeing that I am asking for donations. Support Gathering of Priestesses is donor supported. If you're interested in being a sponsor, I would love to talk with you. Please get in touch with me. We also have our program, our Facebook group, which is a Gathering of Priestesses. Ask to join, and if I don't see anything that looks like you're a troll or a man, you'll probably get in. If you're posting about that card with Walmart, you're not getting in. Got it? It's a scam, and Bill at Microsoft doesn't want to send you $100. Sorry. So anyway, this is a work of love and a work of in many ways something that I've been working on for many years, even though I've only done this last year. And so I really do appreciate you giving me this opportunity to step on stage and to broadcast. And I appreciate the fact that Google is letting us do this for free. So,
Thank you.
because there's no way we could do this kind of worldwide broadcasts. I looked at the demographics the other day for where we've been heard. And we've been heard in Malaysia, Australia, South Africa, Turkmenistan,
Wow.
North Slope of Alaska, Japan, China, all over Europe, all over the U.S., all over South America. And to know that, you know, maybe we were there the moment somebody needed us. They just needed to know that we were there, that we existed, because they thought they were the only one that was having these crazy thoughts.
Yes.
And so many of us, that has been
Yes.
where we've come from. We think nobody else has ever thought this, and I'm so weird. And I got news for you. We're all weird.
I love weird. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for stepping in.
Maybe Google is just a weird goddess.
Today being my birthday, Google had changed itself into, you know, the letters of the Google logo were all birthday cakes, and I'm like,
oh, happy birthday!
Right, but how did Google know it was my birthday?
Google is everything.
Weird goddess.
Google is the Google goddess. Ooh, now that's $1 million idea.
Oh.
Yeah, but yeah, Google knows everything. Don't you? You know, NSA has got nothing on Google, and we've all given it to them. So I want to thank you all, and I want to welcome you, ask you to come back next week whenever Miss Catherine Ravenwood, Priestess Extraordinaire, will be on. And if we can talk her into it, maybe we'll get her to call in the directions and demonstrate a little bit of what she's been talking about.
That would be lovely.
And I really think that, you know, she's done an incredible job of being my co-host, of being here, and sometimes just sitting here silently, which, frankly, is very difficult for her to do in the first place.
But it's very appreciated. You're holding space. You're helping to hold the space. It's very, very valuable.
Thank you. Well, I'm honored to do it, and it's been wonderful for me to be able to talk to so many different women, and I just feel like it's been it's a love fest every week. It's wonderful.
So I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank everyone who listens in the future. Please let us know. Tell us what it was. Raven's website is KatherineRavenwood.com. That's Kathryn Ravenwood. And someone asked me the other day. And then the Christina's website is, again?
TheJoyfinder.com.
TheJoyfinder.com, and mine is real difficult. GloriaTaylorBrown.com. And one of these days, I'm actually going to get that website rebuilt. It's I'm kind of like the shoemaker's children. I build everybody else's stuff, but I don't build mine. But Gathering of Priestesses on Facebook, and we look forward to seeing you. And thank you very much for this evening.